All right, I see people coming through and welcome everyone at our webinar. We'll give one more minute to get everyone on board and then we will begin. All right. Hi, and a very warm welcome to everyone joining us. We're happy to have you today at our joint STAR and BSI Group webinar talk on the new AI regulations. My name is Andriy Gorbenko. I'm head of marketing at the Health Tech unit at STAR. And today I'll be your moderator along with two of our speakers. Antonina Burlachenko is the head of quality and regulatory consulting at STAR, and Andrea Sanino, senior AI product manager at BSI Group. So today we'll have two talks from both Antonina and Andrea on the EU AI Act, current timelines, new challenges in regulatory and compliance for AI. So by the end of these talks, we will wrap up our webinar with Q&A session. So I highly encourage you all to submit any questions that you will have down below through the Zoom Q&A button. We'll try to answer all those questions, but in case we run out of time, we'll follow you up with those answers in an email. Also, I highly encourage you to network and share a sentence or two about yourself and your interest in the AI regulatory domain. Tell us anything about which product you develop, what your previous experience in the regulatory journey, and what brings you here. So let's network and have a short chat before we start. And lastly, after the webinar, we will prepare a recap on the talks that we would have today. Well, you get the overview of today's discussion, as well as the recording itself sent you through the email. So without further ado, let's start. Antonina, Andrea, thank you for joining and having this conversation with me. I think it's a perfect timing for a discussion on AI regulations early on, and so you can be ensured that you come prepared and compliant in the nearest future. So let me start with this question, Andrea. There has obviously been a huge amount of debate in the industry, governments and press about the need how to regulate the AI. As someone who has been working in this domain for quite a long time, what's your view on that?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting BSI today, and it's a pleasure to be with all of you today. As a UK approved body and a notified body in the European Union, BSI has witnessed a very rapid growth, I will say, on artificial intelligence enabled medical devices and in vitro diagnostic devices. This is a parameter for us to understand that the applications of artificial intelligence are growing, not only in those two markets, but across our entire lives. There is also a general acknowledgement that the current legal framework and standards do not cover certain specific aspects of AI, or at least they don't do it in an adequate way. Doing nothing is, of course, not an option. AI is already here. It will flood most of the software applications. It's affecting our daily life already. Artificial intelligence is present in the automotive sector, in finance, in human resources, the hiring process, for example, just to name a few, of course, applications and examples. Additionally, I will say that we have also witnessed some failures in the past of artificial intelligence. And those failures, I think we can, all of us today can mention at least one failure of AI that made it to the news. So this means that artificial intelligence raises also some concerns due to the known and emerging risk associated. And therefore addressing those risks and assuring general and to the general and professional public implies that AI needs a level of scrutiny prior to market release, as well as in the post-market phase. Again, this may raise some other concerns, not from users, but maybe from developers and providers, especially because the word regulating is generally associated with stifling. I want to clarify since now that this is not the purpose neither of the regulation nor of BSI. We want to keep supporting and encouraging responsible innovation as always, as we've always done, and we want to keep on this track. But I think that maybe it's also worth to ask Antonina's opinion on this as a representative on of the market.
Thank you, Andrea. So I definitely agree with everything you just said. I look at the AI regulation as a positive thing because basically, if we help the AI products providers to develop their products in organized, managed way, it will help us also to build this trust in the end users, and all of us are end users of those AI solutions, and also in regulators. So that is definitely a positive thing. But I can also say that based on my experience working with different companies who do incorporate AI in their products, I see a lot of, I would even say, fear from the manufacturer side, so provider side, because a lot of them had quite painful, and some of them are still in quite painful experience with MDR, IVDR transition. So they kind of expect something similar with AI Act. And I believe that it is actually task of all of us, so consultants, AI providers, notified bodies, regulators, to work together and make sure that we shape this regulation in a way that will work for all of us and make basically our world better. And personally, I am very excited about possibilities of AI as technology. We've definitely seen some failures, as Andrea said, but we've also seen a lot of impressive applications and products, and we are definitely not yet at full capacity of AI and possibility of AI solutions. So I think that we should actively collaborate together now and make sure that we end up with something really good in the future.
Awesome, indeed. All right. Let's then move to our talks. Antonina, the floor is yours.
Yeah.
And please enjoy the session.
Thank you. I'm sharing my screen. I hope you can see my screen now.
Yes, all good.
Yeah, so thank you for joining us today. And I would like to tell you a little bit more about AI Act requirements and machine learning ISO standards. So we will discuss the AI Act, to which system it's applicable, classification of the products under AI Act. We will keep our discussion mainly focused around the requirements around high-risk AI products, and we will discuss details about those requirements. And in the end, we will have a look at the available published ISO standards for machine learning. And I will, in the very end, briefly tell you how we at STAR can support you. So we've already discussed with Andrea why AI regulation might be a good thing. So I'll just jump into AI Act requirements. So AI Act, once it's published, it will apply to every AI provider who places their product on European market. And it could be either a provider established within European Union, or it could be a provider in the so-called third country outside of the European Union area. Besides that, the AI Act will apply to all the AI users who are using AI products within European Union. And the third category would be AI providers and users who are located in the third countries, but products of which are being used within the boundaries of European Union. So generally, AI Act classifies AI systems into different classes depending on their risk. So the first class of those is so-called unacceptable risk AI products, and those will be prohibited to be placed on the European market. We will discuss about categories of the products which fall into this classification shortly. The next level is high-risk AI products, and mainly our discussion today will be around those type of devices. And high-risk AI products will require to go through a conformity assessment procedure with notified body like BSI in order to be placed on the European market. And the rest of the products incorporating AI will fall into so-called non-high risk category. And for those products, AI Act requires AI providers to ensure transparency, which means that they will have to inform their users that they're dealing with AI product. Or, for example, in case if it is some output of deepfake technology, it should be also clearly marked that particular material was either modified or created using AI. And the next thing which AI Act describes is a voluntarily code of conduct, which non-high-risk AI providers will be encouraged to implement in order to make their AI products development a little bit more managed. So before we start discussing the requirements, let's quickly look at what penalties will be associated with the non-compliance of those requirements. So the highest penalty would be given for placing prohibited products on the European market. And in this case, if it happens, provider of such kind of product will get a penalty up to 30 million euros or 6% of the worldwide annual turnover, whichever is higher. The same level of amount of penalty will be issued to AI system providers of high risk AI system providers who are not compliant with data governance requirements. So basically Article 10 of AI Act. We will discuss those requirements with you shortly. The next, in case if AI product provider is not compliant with any other obligations in the AI Act, they will be up to fines up to 20 million euros or 4% of the turnover. And the very last thing is that in case if provider of AI product will provide incorrect, incomplete, or any misleading information to a notified body, they will also be will receive a penalty up to 10 million euros or 2% of the turnover. As a side note, AI Act also describes administrative fines for European Union institutions and bodies, and those are for being non-compliant with its requirements, and those are up to 500,000 euros. So which systems would be prohibited under AI Act in Europe? So any kind of product which is based on techniques which basically use behavioral economics principles to distort patients' consciousness and somehow manipulate people into some actions would be prohibited. Then any real-time remote biometric identification for law enforcement also is prohibited under AI Act. There are exclusions here, and for those, I suggest you to look into the AI Act and read it, but generally they are prohibited. The next class of the prohibited devices are systems which exploit any vulnerability of a particular group of people by their age, physical or mental disability. So it's also not allowed in Europe. And the last class of prohibited systems would be any systems which could be used for evaluation, classification of the people for assessing their trustworthiness or any kind of social score platforms. So it is not allowed within European Union. So the next thing which we'll discuss is what will actually fall under high-risk AI system definition. So in case if your product is intended to be used as a safety component of a product, or is itself a product which is covered by one of the harmonized legislation in European Union, listed in Annex 2 of AI Act. And if you have to go through a third-party conformity assessment procedure in order to place your product on the market, then your product falls into the high-risk category under the AI Act. And speaking of this Annex 2 of AI Act, it lists 12 different directives and regulations, including medical MDR, so medical advice regulation, and IVDR. So besides this definition, AI Act also tells us that additionally, the following systems will fall under its high-risk system definition. So any systems for biometric identification and categorization of the people, then any products which will help us to manage critical infrastructure. So for example, products for managing road traffic, products for managing supply of water, gas, electricity will be high risk. The next category would be any products which are relating to education. So any AI products for selecting the applicants to the educational institution, for accepting students, for assessing performance of the students would be into high risk. The next category are all the products related to employment. So here, example of such products would be AI product for basically filtering the applicants for a job position, open job position, assessing of the employees' performance, any suggestions for promotion or interruption of the contractual obligations. So these kind of systems would be also high risk. The next group of systems which fall under high risk would be any products which would decide who will receive essential private or public services. So example here could be any kind of system to build credit worthiness of a person, or for example, a system which would prioritize people to whom we should first of all send, for example, firefighting services or medical aid. The next category would be all the products relating to law enforcement, all the products relating to migration and border control, and products relating to insurance of the democratic processes. So if you're interested in those systems in more details, please check Annex 3 of AI Act. So now let's discuss what are the obligations of high-risk AI providers under AI Act. So here I tried to put it into some logical sequence. So at first, what AI providers would have to do is to implement compliant quality management system, risk management system, data governance system, and privacy and security systems to make sure that they have an environment in which they can start developing a product in a compliant way with the requirements of AI Act. So the next is the product itself. So in the product itself, high-risk AI providers would have to ensure the transparency for the users. So first of all, it's the transparency that the users are dealing with the AI system, but also it is about the transparency about how the system performs. Then they would have to create the proper records to demonstrate the accuracy, robustness, and cybersecurity of the system, and how they document all the processes, how they ensure this and achieve. Besides that, technical documentation file would have to be prepared. So it's quite similar to MDR and AVDR requirements, as you see. And then additionally, AI Act gives a lot of attention to logging and recording. So it requires it requires AI system providers to implement products in a way that will help them to ensure traceability of what happened, what were the inputs of AI, what were the outputs. And here, the challenge would be to balance between meeting the requirements of the AI Act, but also meeting all the requirements from other data privacy regulations. And the last step would be relating to release and placing the product on the market. So in order to place the high-risk AI products on the market, providers would have to go through the conformity assessment procedure. They would have to implement human oversight for the product which is placed on the market. They would have to register their product in the database according to the requirements and CE mark the product. So regarding CE marking, in case if your product is already placed on the market and you have a declaration of conformity under other regulation in the European Union, you would have to, you are allowed to have one declaration of conformity, both, for example, for MDR and for AI Act. And then you also have to implement vigilance and post-market monitoring system. So vigilance is about communication to regulators, notified bodies, and your end users, and similar as in MDR and AVDR. And then post-market monitoring is also quite similar, but also with the specifics of AI technology. So now we'll talk about details about quality management system. So AI Act requires you to implement a documented quality management system with written policies, procedures, and instructions. It requires you to have regulatory compliance strategy and change management strategy. All the procedures, processes, and documentation related to design, development, verification, validation, and quality control of the AI product. You have to be explicit about all the applied technical specification and standards. You would have to implement data management procedures and risk management system. We will also discuss those shortly. And then post-market monitoring system, vigilance, as we discussed already, ensure that your system has proper functions for keeping records and also ensure proper resource management. And within all those requirements for quality management system, you also have to establish accountability framework and make sure that it is very transparent who is responsible for what in your organization. So now we will have a look at the basically snapshot of requirements from AI Act regarding the risk management. So if you are coming from basically medtech, health tech, you will recognize this framework because it is quite similar to what we have for medical devices. So AI Act requires high-risk AI system providers to implement risk management system, which should be established, implemented, documented, and maintained. So within that system, AI Act expects you to eliminate, reduce, and mitigate the risks as far as possible. As in other risk management systems, we have basically such steps as risk identification, where we identify the risks related to our product. Then risk estimation, so basically putting some quantitative values on our risk for severity and probability. Then evaluation of the risk, so basically assessing if this risk is acceptable or not within our risk acceptance criteria. And then you have to basically mitigate and control, so come up with risk mitigation measures for the identified risks, and then implement monitoring of how of basically efficiency and effectiveness of those implemented steps. And similarly to the last revision of risk management system for medical devices, AI Act also requires us to not only assess each individual residual risk, but also overall residual risk and compare it to the product benefits. And it also requires us to basically create an intended purpose for each AI, high-risk AI product. And all the residual risks which remain within our product after mitigation and risk control measures have to be communicated to the end user. So that system was quite generic, and in case if you come from medical field, you've already seen it all. So now I think it would be useful to talk a little bit about machine learning specific risks. So from that perspective, I suggest you to look at this ISO standard. It is quite helpful. Yeah, so the first chunk of the risks related to AI is basically a risk with transparency and explainability. So machine learning and AI products are quite often not very transparent and explainable. And it is basically this risk has to be addressed. And you have to come up with steps how to make sure that you have this transparency and explainability to the extent possible. But here it is also important to remember about the balance between transparency and basically security, because in case you're becoming too transparent, it might become a potential vulnerability in your system. The next type of risk which has to be considered is high complexity of some of the environment for some of the AI products. So that's why it's very important to understand the environment in which your product will perform after you place it on the market. And you have to take into account all the risks of that environment and make sure that you properly implement all the verification and validation measures. The next big category of risks are related to data quality. So here you have to ensure and take into account all the risks with data representativeness. So how well data represents your intended population. You have to make sure that your data is free of bias, implement data management measures to avoid data poisoning. So all of those risks have to be taken into account during the initial risk assessment. The next group of risks are relating to training of the model itself. And here we are balancing, we have to implement the procedures in a way that we avoid overfitting or underfitting, that our models are able to generalize properly, but still have proper performance characteristics for the intended purpose. We have to think about the possibility of model, data, or concept drift, and take care of those risk control. The next group of risks are relating to the resources. So all of us know that machine learning solutions require quite big amount of resources. So it is also important to consider those risks relating to lack of different kinds of resources. The next one here are inadequate verification and validation. So machine learning and AI is developing, and along with the development of the products, all the verification and validation techniques are also being developed. So it is important for AI product providers to monitor constantly state of the art for verification and validation to make sure that you are up to speed and your product is properly verified. When it comes to the security risks, we have to take into account all different machine learning specific risks like adversarial attacks, data poisoning, model stealing. And from that perspective, I suggest you to check a draft from OWASP with top 10 AI related vulnerabilities. So that might be helpful for security risk assessment for your products. The next category of risks would be relating to the deployment and transferring of the machine learning models between different environments. So that should be taken care of as well. And the last category here is not related to product as such, but it is definitely present in the ecosystem. So we have to ensure that our users of our AI products are not over-relying on the technology. So basically make sure that you implement some information to users and a notification system to avoid this so-called automation bias. So with that said, let's talk about data and data governance. So just as a reminder, this article is related to one of the highest fines on the AI Act. And it requires you, snapshot of the requirements of that article is on this slide. So first of all, AI Act requires you to have training, validation, and testing data sets, which are independent. Then it requires you to document how you evaluated your data for being relevant, representative, for making sure that it is of high quality and free of errors. Then you have to describe all the statistical properties of data and how your data is matching with the intended user population. And then you have to also consider the specific geographical functional setting and the intended use of your particular product. So it is product specific. For security and privacy, AI Act is quite generic. So it just says that we have to use state-of-the-art techniques to ensure security and privacy. And when it comes to data governance, we have to describe the procedures for data collection, pre-processing, management, for assessing its quality, ensuring availability, suitability, assessment for bias, and how we deal with gaps or any shortcomings in the data. So with that said, let's have a look at the machine learning system lifecycle. So this life cycle is described in the stated ISO standard, which I suggest you to check out. And as you see, we've already discussed some requirements of AI Act. And as you see, basically everything what we discuss, it goes through the very beginning of the machine learning system, first idea appearing, and then till the very end. So it also means that you have to implement your quality management system, and you have to develop your products under that quality management system to be compliant with the regulation. And it covers all the steps, starting with data acquisition, preparation, through modeling, verification and validation, and till the very end of the product lifecycle. And then throughout that product lifecycle, you have to implement the risk management system, security and privacy system, and then you have to implement all the measures for ensuring explainability, safety, robustness, and fairness of the system. So, and to demonstrate that all the processes are being followed, you will have to show some evidence, so some records and documents, how you basically followed your established quality management system. So here is a snapshot of really useful, in my opinion, machine learning related standards. They cover risk management for AI systems, how to deal with bias. They cover robustness of AI systems, techniques of software testing for AI-based systems. So please check it out, because it's really good input, good materials. And I also put this one here, which is not yet published, unfortunately, but we are really looking forward to that. So this ISO standard will describe quality management system for AI. And also, a couple of days ago, World Health Organization published basically a publication on regulatory considerations on AI for health, which is also quite interesting resource, which I suggest you to check out. And it provides some good ideas in terms of documentation, risk management, intended use, data quality, privacy, and engagement and collaboration aspects. So I suggest you to check it out. I provided a link here in this document. So you joined us today, so obviously you are interested in AI regulations. So I will shortly tell you what we have, what offering we have at STAR. So we have installed a product developed by STAR, which is electronic compliance management system, and it is certified under ISO 27701, so information security management system. And you can use it to build your QMS or ISMS. We also have so-called know-how sets. So we have basically a set of templates which you can use to build your quality management system or information security management system on InstaOut. And we also have a team of regulatory consultants who can support you with building regulatory strategy for your products, who can help you and train your team in different regulatory related questions, conducting internal audits. We can support you in building quality management systems and information security management systems, and helping you with building your technical documentation. So our InstaHots platform, it is a cloud-based software as a service platform. It is hosted by us, so you get your organization account. And on top of that, you can receive one of the available know-how sets. And from the day one, you can start collaborating and working on your QMS or ISMS. And the know-how set itself is a set of different policies, procedures, processes, and documentation templates, which are all mapped to relevant normative sources, and it is all defined with all the roles within the system defined. So it is also quite useful resource to help you start somewhere. So that's all from me. Would you have any questions? Feel free to reach me on LinkedIn. And with that said, I will pass the word to Andrea.
Thank you very much,
Thank you,
Antonina. Sorry, Andre, please go.
No. Just wanted to thank you, Antonina, for that insightful talk. It's incredible how deep the AI regulatory ocean is there, and so thank you for sharing all those insights. And without further ado, Andrea, the floor is yours. Please enjoy the second talk.
Thank you very much. I'm sharing my screen now, so hope you can see it. Great, thank you, Antonina. So, hello everyone, and welcome to this webinar once again. As Andre mentioned, I'm Andrea Sanino. Today we'll talk about the AI Act, and in particular this new legislation. We'll see how, we'll see the status of things on this with this legislation. Antonina anticipated a very important topics. We will see then how BSI is building capability to support AI manufacturers or in general manufacturers of every product embedded with artificial intelligence, or that uses artificial intelligence somehow. And then we'll have a short, as Andre mentioned, a short question and answer session at the end of the talk. So with Antonina, as I mentioned, with Antonina, we've seen the implications of the AI Act and its approach to risk classification. I'd like to start with this slide showing the route that the legislation is following. So after its publication in April 2021, the AI Act draft has been under discussion. Today, we are at the stage of a trilogue. So a trilogue is taking place between European Parliament, the Council, and the Commission. The purpose is to reach an agreement on legislative proposals that is acceptable for all the parties involved. So the approval of the AI Act is expected within the final months of 2023, so this year, and the first part of the next year, so 2024. When it's approved, it is also expected to be published on the official journal. It will get published on the official journal of the European Union. After a period of 20 days, so 20 days later, the legislation will officially enter into force. Now, from this moment, the transition period will start and will have a duration of 2 to 3 years, as proposed respectively by the Parliament and the Council. And during this period of time, it will be possible also for organizations to become notified bodies under this legislation. Then we have seen, again with Antonina, the approach that the legislation is taking in terms of classification of risk, different classes, the different risk classes, deriving by the different uses of artificial intelligence. And we've seen how the AI Act foresees a conformity assessment for AI applications listed in Annex 3, and for those applications that need a third-party conformity assessment under other union-harmonized legislation. Now, in these cases, it is important for AI providers to consider both requirements of the AI of the Union harmonized legislation and the AI Act law as applicable. And also, it's important to remember that if the requirements of the AI Act are addressed by a union harmonized legislation, those requirements shall be considered fulfilled. On the notified body side, a single declaration of conformity may be issued in respect of all the legislations applicable to the product, and therefore a single CE marking will indicate conformity. Let's now take a look at the practical example of a medical device, which we summarized in this scheme. Now, we know that artificial intelligence can be used as a standalone software. Therefore, it can be integrated into a physical product. In this case, we define it as embedded. It can be used to serve the functionality of a physical product without being integrated into it. And in this case, we will have non-embedded. Or it can be an essential component of a larger system. Now, the first question that we need to answer is artificial intelligence a medical device itself, or is it embedded in a medical device? Now, if the answer is yes, once we understood this, safety, just to remind, the safety component is a component which of course fulfills a critical safety function, and if this component fails, it would of course endanger the final outcome of the use of the product and possibly safety and the health of users of the product. So once we have clarified the first answer, we can go into the second one, and we need to understand in particular if a conformity assessment is foreseen or not by the MDR for that product. In case it is foreseen, the third-party conformity assessment will include also the AI Act requirements within with the single technical documentation, and a single declaration of conformity will be issued. If a conformity assessment is not required, then harmonized standards or common specification must be adhered to. Now, before starting presenting you what BSI is doing in this field, I'd like to talk about our purpose, to bring up our purpose. So if you go on our website, it's like the first thing you will be reading is inspiring trust for a more resilient world. We all know that trust in artificial intelligence is a very complex and multifaceted topic, I will say. And as artificial intelligence continues to advance and become more integrated into our lives, it's crucial to support its adoption by ensuring the highest standards of excellence. And this is exactly what BSI aims to do. We want to be the business improvement company that enables organizations to make excellence a habit. We try to do this by sharing knowledge, innovation, and best practices, and for example, as well as through our webinars and trainings, which we'll see later. But today, you will definitely have an example of this. Now, specifically in the AI world, as we understood, building trust is an ongoing process, and it requires the collaboration among the developers, different users, policymakers, all the stakeholders involved. And even if the regulatory timeline extends up to 2027, we want to bring a proactive approach since the early stages. We want to support providers in anticipating those requirements and building seamlessly habits of excellence. Now, we think that these habits will play a fundamental role in building this trust and building especially confidence among the final users. Now, we also think that adopting those habits of excellence since the early stages, it's also a demonstration of full commitment to a responsible and trustworthy development of artificial intelligence from provider side. Now, specifically in the medical device field, we know that artificial intelligence has the potential to impact various industries. Two sectors where its influence is definitely more prominent are the medical device and the in vitro diagnostic one. BSI is already a leading organization that supports company in the development and deployment of their products within these two sectors. And artificial intelligence has significant applications in the healthcare delivery. We range from, of course, imaging and diagnosis, remote monitoring, drug discovery, surgical assistance, health records, data management, disease prevention. We could continue for hours. And it's exactly by exploiting our presence on this market as a notified body that we want to start with these two markets specifically. Now, we know that the state of the art, the discussion that we all witnessed in the last month has brought also an improvement of the state of the art in the last years. Thanks also to the publication of new specific standards, and Antonina showed a very nice slide with the majority of them. Now, BSI has therefore built a team of specialized AI experts that will undertake a technical documentation assessment specifically for the AI components of the device within the applicable requirements of the medical device and in vitro diagnostic regulations. I want to specify that this assessment is part of the MDR and IVDR review, and it's done against the requirements of the AI Act. Of the medical device and IVD regulation. So it has nothing to do with the requirements of the AI Act, even if, of course, some overlaps may always happen as we anticipated before. In particular, we'll be looking at the tools used for the development and deployment, especially the environments used, into a description of those. We will look into the data sets. We will look into metrics for performance, the robustness of the algorithm, and the transparency of the entire product. And then, last but not least, we will, of course, analyze quality of data, so the pre-processing algorithms, the cleaning, how it's performed, how providers dealt with channel effects, augmentation, with bias especially. We will look into partitioning methods, the labeling methodologies, training and testing and retraining, and validation and verification and validation reports. again, this is part of the standard process to get a CE mark for medical device and in vitro diagnostics. So it's against these two legislations. On top of that, and expanding now our focus to other industries impacted by the AI Act, we want to offer in-depth technical analysis of AI compliance. Now, yes, against standards published on artificial intelligence, so specifically against those that we envision will be harmonized standards with the AI legislation. Now, this analysis will be enhanced by our partnership with Citadel AI, which is a provider of AI testing and monitoring tools. And during this analysis, we will prioritize different fundamental principles of the AI legislation, including, of course, among many others, fairness, bias, robustness, which kind of constitute the core of this legislation. Now, such analysis can be exploited by willing organizations seeking to address the safety and reliability of their AI systems before the application date of the AI Act that we've seen before. So as you can understand, this is something that can happen on top, for example, for the medical device and IVD industries of their current process of CE mark. But it's a separate service, of course, a separate thing. Now, another important aspect of BSI's offering that's central in our mission, in our vision, are the regulatory trainings. As mentioned earlier, BSI promotes knowledge sharing, and this holds true in the artificial intelligence field as well, where we really think that an understanding of this rapidly changing regulatory landscape is crucial. So we're working to provide a series of trainings and webinars, like, for example, the one that you're following today, to support you during the crucial phases of the planning, implementing, and deploying AI systems. Now, with these contents, we aim to empower providers to seize opportunities and navigate the challenges and the uncertainties, especially, I will say, that may arise along the way, as well as along the transition period. I'm very happy to announce that the first training is ready and is available. It's an assessment. It's a training on an ISO standard, which Antonina presented before, and it's ISO IEC 24029-1, and in particular, it's on the assessment of the robustness of neural networks. So this training is available today from our website for you to exploit. Now, I would like to conclude going back to where we started and specifically reiterate the concept of building trust during the initial discussion we had with Andre and Antonina. I would like to emphasize that BSI is building a comprehensive portfolio of services with the purpose, of course, to help establish trust and credibility in AI products. Before our solutions, of course, aim to keep you ahead of the AI regulation. We want to support you in reducing risks without, of course, stifling innovation, which we can all agree it's the biggest challenge as of today. So yeah, my presentation is finished. I think we can now go into the Q&A session. Andre?
Yes, sure. Thank you, Andrea, for the presentation. It was, again, quite insightful to see how it all goes with the timeline and the rest. All right, let's spend around 10 to 15 minutes on the Q&A session, and I'll start with the list of questions I have here in the chat. So the first question is, what is the impact for medical device software already certified under the EU MDR? Will this software and shall the software be complied also with the additional requirements under the new AI Act?
Yeah, so I can take this, Antonina, if you don't mind. So for those products which are already on the market, of course, there won't be any need of a reassessment of the product, even when the AI Act will become fully applicable. Nevertheless, it's important to consider that those products, that this doesn't mean that those products do not need to follow the legislation and the obligations of the legislation. It's just that those requirements will be assessed only in case of a major modification, or when the product needs to undergo a second assessment, a reassessment because of a major change. Then the AI Act requirements will be assessed as well.
Okay, great, thanks. Then the next one, we actually have quite a lot here, so I hope we will be on time to answer all of those. So the second one is, if a medical device IVD manufacturer already holds an MDR IVDR certificate, should we obtain another AI certification to continue to supply our device in the EU, or will the requirement of the AI Act be covered by notified bodies as part of the ongoing MDR IVDR recertification process?
Now, the process foresees that for new products that need to be put on the market, the conformity assessment will be a unique conformity assessment. So for those notified bodies that are accredited and notified under both, for example, IVDR and AI Act, or MDR and AI Act, the conformity assessment will be a unique one. There will be a single declaration of conformity and a single CE mark to put on products. For those products who are already on the market, I've already answered in my first answer.
Okay. Then the next one, will a similar act on AI will be issued also in the UK, or UK stays out of the scope of the AI Act?
Yes, UK stays out of the scope of the AI Act. Following Brexit, the European legislations will not apply to them. They are actually taking a different approach on artificial intelligence, which is more vertical rather than horizontal. The AI Act European version is taking a more horizontal approach that then applies to all the different legislations and all the other union harmonized legislations at the same way. While in the UK there is a more sectorial approach, but yes, it will be a different regulation.
Okay. The next one is, in the wide variety of available standards, is it hard for a manufacturer, especially for a startup, to anticipate on and comply with the requirements of the AI Act in practice? Is there any practical advice or guidance hereon would be much appreciated?
Yeah, we understand that, and that's why actually in my part of the presentation, I included a slide with different AI-related standards, which we consider are useful for different aspects of the AI development. So yeah, so that will be actually the main challenge, to gather techniques, practices for all aspects of machine learning product development, and make sure that you reflect all those processes within your quality management system.
Okay. Okay, the next one then. Does ISO 13485 fulfill the requirements of Article 17 in terms of QMS, or are there any gaps?
So the biggest gap, you can say, is that AI Act specifically requires you to have procedures for data governance. So as we've discussed, Article 10, and it is part of the QMS. And then for risk management, you will also have to make sure that you take into account AI-specific risks. So you can build on top of the 13485, but definitely, it's not enough.
Okay. Good. Let's proceed to the next one. What are the criteria of the AI certification is against ISO 42001?
Yes, so I think they're referring to the correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they're referring to the second part of our services that I was mentioning. So the possibility for willing organizations to undergo an assessment against certain standards. Definitely among the standards that we foresee to include in our review. There's also for 2001, so on AI management systems. It will be possible for organizations to ask for an assessment against this standard even before the publication of the AI Act and its full applicability. So yes, it's part of the services that we will offer.
All right, good. The next question, does the quality management system ISO 13485 scope need to be revised by mentioning artificial intelligence systems in it?
Well, I would say that it's an extension. As Antonina already mentioned, there are some gaps in ISO 13485. The AI management system, it's something that needs to be built on top of the current quality management systems. The rule is always the same. When there's another legislation or another regulation that already that it's applicable, of course, for the specific case, for the specific products that already has some requirements which may overlap with the requirements of the AI Act, or for example, with the requirements of ISO 42001, then those requirements will be considered fulfilled. So everything that's additional needs to be added on top of what currently exists. So just to give an example, the fact that there's a new legislation doesn't delete the previous one. Okay, so it doesn't mean that medical device manufacturers with AI, they don't need to comply with the MDR requirements anymore, and just with the AI Act requirements. It's an addition.
All right. There are also a couple of questions around product development and R&D teams. So the first one is, how should R&D teams align their AI product development strategies from the very beginning to ensure compliance with the EU AI Act requirements?
So to answer this question, we can get back to my slide with AI or machine learning product lifecycle. So basically, you have to apply a quality management system from the very beginning, because there is expectation that you govern your data properly, and even on your research phase of your R&D, you will have to manage that data, version that data, ensure that your training, validation, testing data are independent, because in case if you don't do it under the QMS, it would be difficult later on to provide evidence, trustworthy evidence that your product is of a proper quality.
All right. And to continue this question, so given the iterative nature of AI development, how can companies ensure continuous compliance, especially when deploying updates on new features to existing AI products?
Implementing quality management system and following it. The same as we do now for software and medical devices. So we do. There are really good guidances and standards available on the how to implement agile practices in the regulated world. So it will be the same here. So you have to implement your quality management system, machine learning procedures, processes, and then follow them.
Okay. All right. I see we are slightly out of time for now, so there are still some questions left, but let's answer them right after the webinar, probably tomorrow or in the next couple of days. So we will follow up you all with the answers to those questions that you left. And we will also share both the presentations that you've seen and the recap of the webinar that you've been into today. And from my side, I think it was extremely important to discuss and to talk early on the upcoming AI regulations that we did today, and to ensure basically that you are equipped with the knowledge of how to prepare yourself, prepare your product development, prepare your R&D and ongoing growth to the European market within the AI domain. Thank you all for joining today. I was super happy to see all of you and hear questions from you. Hope to see you further on our upcoming webinars, both at STAR and BSI Group. And please stay in touch with both us, Andrea and Antonina. For you, Andrea and Antonina, thank you a lot for presentation. It was an exciting talk and very insightful insights to all the AI domain. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great day, the rest of you, and see you on the upcoming webinars. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a great day.